Welcome back inside Pechanga Arena in San Diego, where William Zepeda just made a statement, winning a lopsided decision over former 130-pound title holder JoJo Diaz. I'm Chris Mannix. He's Sergio Mora, unified flyweight champion Marlen Esparza with us here ringside. Sergio, I'll start with you. Zepeda came into this fight as a slight favorite, and then he went out and completely dominated. How do you think his performance?
It was a brilliant performance. I mean, he dominated a former champion that no one's really been able to dominate like that. Devin Haney even had more issues than Zepeda had. It was an impressive performance because the power punching was nonstop, the body punching, the right hooks. And JoJo wasn't going anywhere. You got to give credit to JoJo, the tremendous heart that he proved that he still has. I mean, it was a crossroads fight, and he still has that name recognition. I still want to see him in big fights, but Zepeda made a statement tonight.
Marlen, what stood out to you in this fight?
Just the way that Zepeda actually delivered it. Like you said, he was, you know, it's supposed to be a competitive fight. JoJo's an experienced fighter and has a lot of tools, but Zepeda really just did everything he could do. And his distance, him not smothering himself, using angles, doing exactly what he said he wanted to do. And I believe that when he says he wants 135, that's exactly what he's going to do. I don't see anybody stopping him.
Sergio, Zepeda's had some quality wins over the last year. Began last summer against Hector Tanajara in his last fight. He beat a very game and former title holder, Rene Alvarado, but this was clearly his best win to date. What do you think he's ready for at this point?
I would love to see him against a fighter like Isaac Cruz, someone that's just equally as tough and coming at you, someone that's proven on the championship level. We know that he can go 12 rounds now. He's been in there with Alvarado, a former champion. Now JoJo Diaz, he's a championship caliber fighter now, so he belongs with one of the big names, but I don't think the big names are going to look his way. So he's going to have to continue demolishing opponents, whoever they put in front of him.
I think you might be right, at least in the short term. Marlen, when you watch Zepeda fight, do you think he'd fare well against the upper echelon of the 135-pound division?
Oh, absolutely. He's dangerous. When you look at him, maybe some fighters might believe, oh, he just throws a lot and I can handle it and there's plans. But he has a lot more tools. He has his distance and his position, and that's going to play a big part in him winning.
I'd love to see him fight any of the top guys. Might be a while, but as those belts fracture, he may get opportunities to fight for a world title. Let's talk about JoJo Diaz here for a second. Still a name in boxing, former 130-pound champion, but this is his second loss in 3 fights. He steps up once again, and he comes up a little bit short. What do you think the future is for JoJo Diaz?
Well, look, he's only lost to 3 undefeated fighters. I mean, 2 champions, and now William Zepeda, who we know is the real deal. JoJo still has that name recognition, so I expect him to still get a big fight. If he still has the hunger to train the way he did for this fight, and he's gonna have to prove himself. It's not going to be a name. It's going to be someone, you know, ranked in the top 10, but it's going to be someone tough, and it's not going to be for a lot of money. But if he's still hungry to beat a guy like that, he can come back for another title shot within 2 fights, 2-3 fights, because that's the type of fighter JoJo is.
Yeah, but the question is, what division does he do it in? Marlen, I watched a fight out there. William Zepeda is a lightweight. JoJo Diaz looks like a blown-up 130-pounder, and this fight was at 138. So you talk about how hard JoJo Diaz trained. It was his side that wanted it to be 138 pounds. William Zepeda was ready to go at 135 pounds. Should he consider dropping down in weight, and can he do that at this stage of his career?
I think he can do it if he wants to do it. And again, if he's hungry for it, if he wants it, I think he really should worry about 130. 135, I don't think that's the answer. And 138 was obviously something he couldn't handle, even though he asked for it. So I think he can do it if he's hungry at 130, and I do expect to see him again. He's a name. He's still a really competitive fighter. He's still talented, but he is going to have to move his way back up and really prove himself.
Now, I think being at 130 is smart. Those were his best years. He beat Tevin Farmer at 130 pounds. He fought Shavkat Rakhimov a little bit overweight, but if he drops back to 130 and has the discipline, I think he can fight for that world title. Sergio, you love the co-main event. Ricky Perez, your new favorite fighter. Alexis Rocha gets the win. It's a lopsided decision, but you love you some Ricky Perez.
Listen, who doesn't love heart? Who doesn't love courage? I mean, it was a one-sided beating, but you got to love the fact. It was like a human Rocky movie. Who didn't like Rocky? I mean, Rocky came back and won, but
Rocky was close in Rocky 1. Like, it was close at the end.
Hey, the fans loved it here, and I love the fact that when you're not a fighter, you don't know what it is to get beaten down and still try to come back and win after everyone's doubting you, after you're bleeding, after you're getting beat up. That's the heart of a fighter, the cojones. and he's trying to do that all the way to the end. It's just, I appreciate it because I'm a fighter.
I appreciate it.
You're a
'cause the
writer. Why
will.
don't you write about it?
It's the will. It's the will. Like, even in the second round, everybody thought he was going out. But then then he came back and actually started winning rounds. And it is an entertainment business. You know, you really want to entertain people, but at the same time, as a fighter, it proves a lot that someone is willing to go that far.
And who doesn't respect a warrior trying to go out on his shield? I mean, there's honor there, Mannix. There's honor there. That's all I'm talking
You
about.
want me to write about it? That stunk. End right there. All right, let's talk about the most competitive fight of the night, the women's fight. Aurelia Musino, she picks up the IBF 112-pound title. She now has one of the belts that you want. Let's start with the performance. What did you think of the fight? How did you think how it went?
Well, first of all, one of the belts I'm going to get. But about the performance, I thought it was a good performance. Exactly what I thought it was going to be. She's an aggressive fighter. Her opponent was a boxer, and she just ended up, barely edging it out. But I could have even called it a draw. And I was going to look forward to either one, but definitely looking forward to fighting her.
Sergio, I loved the heart that Musino showed in that fight. She got a pretty significant
So now you love
bump.
heart?
In a competitive
thank you.
fight, I do
Thank
love
you,
heart.
Marlen.
If it's competitive, if you're getting your head caved in, I don't. But if you have a big bump like she had on her forehead, Hasim Rahman-esque, maybe not, that might be a little bit of an exaggeration, but she did have a nice bump. She fought through adversity. She had a little trouble seeing out of that eye in the later rounds, and then I think she stole it in those last couple of rounds. I really admired the sort of fortitude she showed in this fight.
Yeah, she had a swollen eye, the hematoma, and then, it was a competitive fight. She was getting hit with right hands. It really, the way they urged her in the corner as well, so the corner deserves a lot of credit and a trainer. But, you can't teach that type of heart. But she's a veteran, over 30 fights, so she knows how to handle moments like that. And I'm just glad that she was able to regain a world championship, because the story that she has after her father passing away and her wanting this so much for so many people, again, these are the things that you write about. These are the things that inspire people, and these are the things that we love to watch.
That inspired me. Ricky Perez
Heart.
in that performance did not inspire me. So you know the landscape, Marlen, at this point. 112 pounds. Women,
Yes.
to their credit, have done a fantastic job of seeking out the big fights and making the big fights, which men's boxing is not doing right now. What's your level of confidence that you can get that unification fight in your next fight?
I'm sure I can get it. That's exactly what I want. That's exactly what my team wants, Golden Boy wants. It's something I'm capable of. I'm ready, and we all know it. So it's something that's definitely possible, and it's going to happen.
All right, next week we will be in Abu Dhabi for the big one. Dimitri Bivol defending his light heavyweight title against Zurdo Ramirez. Zurdo Ramirez now 5-0 as a light heavyweight, been mowing down relatively inferior competition up until this point. Sergio, what do you think of the matchup, Bivol versus Ramirez?
It's a great matchup, but we got to give credit to Dimitri Bivol and what he just did with beating Canelo, the best fighter in the world right now, and the way he did it, dominating fashion with footwork, with distance, with that power jab, with that right hand, staying off the ropes, keeping the fight in the middle of the ring. These are all things that Zurdo Ramirez is going to have to overcome. Zurdo doesn't have the footwork that Bivol has. He doesn't have the ring generalship, but he does have the power. He does have the size, the reach, that southpaw stance. So if he can get down and dig down and hurt Bivol to the body, it's going to be an interesting fight. But if he doesn't hurt Bivol, it's going to be a one-sided fight, I believe. Dimitri Bivol will control that fight.
Marlen, you are a stablemate of Zurdo Ramirez. What chance do you give him of pulling off this upset?
I think it's going to be a good fight, but I can't compare anything with Bivol's performance with Canelo, because Canelo was smaller. And Bivol he's strong, he's longer, but now that he's facing someone, more his size, it's going to be a test, but I really edge it out to Bivol.
You know what I like about this fight, Sergio? There's a little bit of spice to it. Dimitri Bivol had told his team over the last couple of months, make that Ramirez fight. They're former sparring partners. They don't really like each other all that much, and Bivol, such a mild-mannered guy, I kind of like that there's a little bit of nastiness to it.
You like nastiness? Of course you like nastiness. But Bivol...
I don't know what that means.
Bivol... But you're a nasty person. You're mean. You're curmudgeon. Anyway, listen, Ramirez is an undefeated champion in two-weight divisions. It's going to be a good look for Bivol, who just took out Canelo. Now, if he can take out another Mexican champion, the first super middleweight champion from Mexican descent, that's a notch on your belt. It looks great on your resume. And Bivol's, edging out to be Fighter of the Year as well.
Now, Bivol is the front runner right now for Fighter of the Year. We will see you next week for that matchup. I'm Chris Mannix, Sergio Mora, Marlen Esparza. We will see you next week in the Middle East.